You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go. When the large lady sings it, the Iron Lady, as they do in the Bugs Bunny commercials or comics, that's when you know it's real. The Chris Voss Show has begun officially, folks. Welcome to the big show, the greatest show that we can put on, where we make you smarter, brighter, better, with all the great, amazing people we have on the show, all the great guests, the smartest people, the CEOs, the billionaires, the Pulitzer Prize winners, the White House presidential advisors, governors, Congress members, U.S. ambassadors, astronauts. I mean, how many smart people we have to bring on this damn show, people, to have you refer it to your family and friends? That's all we ask. Please ask your family and friends to refer the show. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one on the tickety-tockety, and Chris Voss, Facebook.com. We have an amazing gentleman on the show, and we're going to have some fun here with this show. It's going to be quite interesting. We have Brian Anderson coming on the show today. He is dubbed the Tick Terminator. We're going to go, this is what happens when AI gets out of control, people. The Tick Terminator gets created. He is the author of a new book that just came out June 23rd, 2023. It's called Winning the War on Ticks. Learn proven combat methods for preventing tick bites. And we might be ending tick season. I'm not sure. I don't have them in our state, but I know they're everywhere else. So that's why I live here. Brian H. Anderson is going to be joining us today. He's the Tick Terminator and has a lifelong fascination with the little bloodsuckers we call the tick. His interest peaked about 10 years ago due to his wife's continuing fear of them, and with several friends suffering from Lyme disease. This began the intense search for preventative ways to keep the ticks off of us. He spent hours and countless hours investigating, studying, experimenting, and loves to share his findings with audiences across the country. He's now on God's given mission and a one-of-a-kind tick and Lyme disease prevention specialist. He's a consultant, a conference speaker, author, and provider of unique and cost-effective repellents. His enthusiasm and humor has landed him on several outdoor TV shows, radio shows, and podcasts over the last few years, and he's created a very unique and informative website with tips to help protect outdoor workers, hunters, hikers, backpackers, campers, and anyone else who goes outside his website. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I always love talking ticks, man. It's a lot of fun.
There you go. Do you want me to call you Mr. Terminator or Brian throughout the show?
Well, I had somebody do a video once on the Terminator, and they kind of gave the Arnold Schwarzenegger, accent to it, which was really pretty funny. But
there you go. So welcome to the show. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs.
TheTickTerminator.com. TheTickTerminator.com. Pretty simple.
Okay. You almost need to have to say that in either an accent or some sort of powerful movie voice. The Tick Terminator. In a world gone mad. This is a wild journey to be on. You're the first person who's wrote a book on ticks who's on the Chris Voss Show after 15 years. We must finally be becoming something of a show. Give us a 30,000 overview of what's in your book.
Well, it's pretty much everything about how I got started, my crazy fascination with it. Also, best methods to keep ticks off, research people have done to try to limit the amount of ticks out there. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end, what do you do if you get bit, which is extremely important, how to handle them, the best repellents that you can use out there, all kinds of different repellents that people can use, just, stuff like that. I mean, the book like this here, when I wrote it, I was going to call it Tick Suck. That was going to be the title. But then the two most important women in my life, namely my wife and my mom, who helped edit it, said, you should change the name. So that's why I call it Winning the War on Ticks. You got to keep the women happy. You know what I mean?
There you go. I always the women in my life, I always take their advice. So my wife and my two mistresses, I listen to whatever they tell me. That's a joke, people. I'm kidding. I don't have a wife, but I do have 2 mistresses. Anyway, what do you do at your website? Tell us what goes on there, some of the products and stuff that you have on there as well.
Well, it's pretty informative. It gives them a lot of ideas about what people can do. In the beginning, it talks right about, some of the products that I deal with. I only deal with a few products on there, maybe half a dozen, really, not a whole lot. And different stories about different things. Let's say, how to handle ticks. There's some tick videos. Lyme disease videos. If somebody gets Lyme, it gives some ideas about places where they can go to get help. But it's pretty general like that. I even tell people, here's one tip that most people never hear about until they hear from me. But let's say you're out in the woods, okay? And you come back to the house and you found a tick on yourself, crawling on your clothes. Mm-hmm. Well, where there's one, there may be 2. Cool. So people say, well, what do I do with my clothes when I get home? I have a tip on my website saying that when you get home, you should take your clothes and put them in the dryer on high for about 15 minutes. That dry heat will kill all the ticks, and then put them in the washer. Don't put them in the washer first. They can survive that, but put them in the dryer first. That dry heat.
So you get those roasted ticks going in the dryer. I love those. They're always so tasty. A little bit of ranch. A little bit of ranch dressing, roasted ticks. That's my favorite. So why are ticks bad? Why do people not like ticks? They seem like such cute little fellers.
Well, like I say, because they suck. And
they suck.
It could be us even too, because the ticks are basically opportunists, Like I said, I wrote the book I work a lot with companies that have outdoor workers, hunter, fishermen, the fish streams, backpackers, hikers, camping, even somebody in their backyard gardening, can actually get ticks on you. Mm-hmm. So I wrote it, with them in mind. It is a big thing that I did.
And what got you into this? What was the turning point for you? Where I'm going to be a tick expert?
Well, actually, when I was a kid, I had a strange fascination with them. I live in Upper Michigan, in a very rural area up here. I moved here in '79 after I got married to my grandparents' place with my wife. So we've been married almost 45 years now.
So you had a fascination with them as a kid?
Yeah.
Who hurt you, man?
I would visit my grandparents, and it was kind of cool to see them actually sitting on a blade of grass. You see them in their environment before they see you, before they get you.
Yeah.
And, you're a little kid, 4 or 5 years old. I put ticks on the same level as like mosquitoes, just things that suck blood, but they couldn't fly, because they don't fly.
Yeah.
That's probably
good. That's probably good. We don't need any more flying, blood-sucking things flying around.
Yeah. About 10 plus years ago, I kind of, had a resurgence of interest in them. And because my wife hates them, I was trying to figure out a way that I could, get rid of them. Or could I make some kind of chocolate, that they would like better than our blood? And guess what? There ain't nothing they like better than our blood. That's it.
No, blood's good. If it's from your enemies, it's tasty.
Yeah. I would bring ticks in the house, bring them in the basement, and play with them with my grandkids. Trying to experiment with them to learn about them. And, I would bring stuff up from underneath the sink, like cleaning products and baking soda and sugar and salt and pepper and whatever I could to try to see if I could get them to move around. And, smells, what I could do with them. And it was a lot of work. I eventually, found out more stuff that, online. But I was playing with them, trying to decide stuff, determine what makes them tick. So
what makes ticks tick? That's a great line for you and what you do with your brand. I'm the guy who figures out how to make ticks tick, and then how to not have them tick anymore.
That's for sure.
There you go. Stop those clocks. So why, tell us a little bit about Lyme disease for people who aren't familiar with it. I didn't used to be familiar with it until a few of my friends got it. Why is Lyme disease pretty bad if you get it from ticks? Why does it mostly come from ticks, Lyme disease? Can you get it anyplace else?
Lyme disease is by far the vast majority of places where you're going to get, you're going to get it from ticks. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it even comes from hardly anything else, barely anything else. But
I got some from key lime pie in Key West one time, but that's key lime. See what I did there?
Yeah, but anyways, Lyme disease is really bad. They call it the great imitator. It can imitate, fibromyalgia, MS, just diseases where people are extremely fatigued, and ticks are tough. I mean, people get bit sometimes by ticks and they don't even know it, which is really bad because they can be really tiny, teeny, small, or a large, an adult tick, and they can still, give you Lyme disease. And it's all about prevention, and it's all about getting it taken care of in the beginning. Here's my tick that I use for demonstration purposes.
Yeah, you may have been feeding that for too long, for those not watching on YouTube.
I know, it's really big. It's about 6 inches long here total. But they don't get this big. But anyways, if they get stuck on you, one of the most important things is how you take a tick off. You want to take a tick off very gently. Okay, if you get one, you don't want to grab it by the body, because if you grab it by the body like this, think about somebody grabbing you by the stomach. You know what I mean? They may puke the bad stuff in you at the time you're trying to take it out.
Oh, wow.
You don't want that. So be very gentle. You want to take it at the very base and pull it up. And watch the bite then. I don't care after that. It's really good to take a picture of it, maybe put it in a plastic bag. I don't care if you shoot it with a 30-06, but make sure you see it first.
The tick or the bite?
Oh, the tick, yeah. And if a little bit of a head gets stuck in your skin, just wash it off with some rubbing alcohol or soap and water, and it'll take care of itself. But watch the bite, especially. Maybe your buddies who got bit there probably didn't know they got bit, or they didn't go and see a doctor right away. But seeing a doctor right away is huge. It's so important to do that. In most cases, they can put you on, let's say, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but they'll probably put you on like doxycycline for a couple weeks. And almost hours, that kicks it out of your system.
Really?
So early detection and early treatment is the biggest thing that I preach at people, to be careful of that. Make sure you get it taken care of in the beginning. Don't just tough it out, because it only gets worse.
So let me ask you this: I had heard something that certain the coloration after the bite can indicate if it's if it had Lyme disease. Is that correct? A bullet sort of look,
bullseye. A bullseye rash, a big circle around that. If they don't all do that, but if you get that, in about half the cases, maybe they get a bullseye rash. And if you get that, man, you for sure need to see a doctor. I mean, I've gotten bitten by ticks. And, not every bite is going to give you a disease. But when you have some kind of bad reaction, like a bullseye rash, like achy joints, flu-like symptoms, I mean, feeling really crappy, maybe your vision goes blurry, or you get Bell's palsy where half your face is kind of sagging, something bad after you got bit by a tick in the next couple of days, see a doctor about it. And if that doctor doesn't do anything about it, see another doctor. It ain't worth, not getting it taken care of in the beginning. That's for sure. But
there you go. What about like your animals too? Like my puppy, when she was young, got a tick bite. We pulled the tick out. I think we used oil or something. Isn't there a thing where you can use oil, or there's some sort of thing you can do to put on it, that liquid or something like
sometimes
motor oil?
Yeah.
I don't remember how we pulled it out, but we pulled it out, and she did get the bullseye a couple days later. And, I guess you need to look for, now does the bullseye look where it has multiple sort of rings? There's a center ring and then there's an outside ring, right?
Sometimes it can. Yeah. I mean, my little niece, who was, maybe like 4 or 5, she got a whole bunch of circles all around her whole body. Her mom told me. And she took her in, and of course, got her taken care of.
Wow. So you got to watch out for it in your animals too. And I just happened to find it, luckily, on her belly because she was a puppy, and she still had her pink exposed belly. That's about the only reason I found it. And then after that, I'm like, how do I keep this from happening again? And it's crazy. People should watch for that sort of bullseye thing, and then they should go to the doctor and get. Is it like a penicillin that's being given to them?
It's doxycycline. I'm not a doctor, like I said, but doxycycline is used for a lot of different things, and it's a really good one for Lyme disease. Now, there's other diseases, too, that people can get. I mean, they can get anaplasmosis, babesiosis, or leishmaniasis, tularemia, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Powassan. And there's another disease in the southeastern part of the United States, more so, that's called alpha-gal syndrome, where they get that and they become allergic to red meat, basically for the rest of their life.
Wow.
That's no good either.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have that. That's awful. And so you help people do prevention. So what are some of the tips that you recommend for people to prevent getting tick bites in the first place?
Well, one thing is if they're out just walking in the woods, if there's trails there, stay on the trails is a real good thing because, they're not going to be on the dirt to be able to get up on you, the ticks. They're never going to be out in the middle of a pavement parking lot, They're going to be on low-lying vegetation, like blades of grass and brush and stuff like that. Remember, they don't drop out of trees. They don't fly. They don't jump. They sit on a blade of grass or vegetation and then just wait for something to come by. Then they latch onto it. That's what they do. And what I recommend is permethrin. Permethrin is the best, without question, the best prevention method to keep ticks off. The way permethrin works is you spray it on your clothes, and I have it on my website. We do a lot with that. It's wonderful stuff. But you spray it on your clothes when, let's say, on a clothesline or something like that. Let it dry overnight or at least 4 hours. And then it dries clear. It's odorless. You can't even see it. I mean, it's so cool. I call it vitamin P for your clothes. You know what I mean?
Vitamin P for your clothes. There you go.
What happens when ticks crawl up on it, it drives they can sense those little permethrin molecules, and it drives them nuts. Eventually, they will fall off and die, or die and fall off because they can't take it. So it's a wonderful product. And nice thing about permethrin is it lasts through the laundry even too. You can wash your clothes several times before you need to reapply. So it's some great stuff.
Well, there you go. That sounds pretty interesting. So I'm glad there's something to do. Like, I mean, I've had friends that they live in like North Carolina and the woodsies areas up there.
Sure.
And I imagine they're mostly prevalent in those greener areas of the states, aren't they? Where are they mostly prevalent at? Well,
you're exactly right. The more vegetation that you have, the more they're going to be. Like in a deserty area, the west where you live, like Vegas, obviously places like that, they're not going to be as much. That's for sure, because they can't take a whole lot of heat. Let's say if you put them in a dryer, that's going to kill them too.
Yeah, I mean we have an outdoor dryer in Las Vegas, so
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
it's 110 degrees.
So they definitely need the moisture to survive. Is a big thing with them. They need moisture to survive. That's why they're going to be in the vegetation areas. So,
I mean, if I own. And my friends say when they come back in from like North Carolina, they're like, yeah, I have to pick the ticks off me and wash the clothes. And I'm like, wow. And then I have to pick the ticks off my dogs. And, I have huskies. So I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of tick picking. Yeah. I mean, I just wear one of them hazmat suits when I go out for a walk. If I lived in North Carolina, I think. Then I have my dog have one too.
But the dogs can actually get some chewables and some certain things like that where the ticks bite them, they actually die.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's the tick collars too, huh?
Yeah. So that helps them. And one way to tell if your dog has like Lyme disease is, let's say after a couple of weeks of maybe getting bit, they start to lose their motor skills. Like their rear end starts to sway around. You can tell they're kind of walking like they're drunk.
Wow.
My daughter she has a little, I think it's a little Shih Tzu, the tiny little, it looks like a mop, you know what I mean, on the floor. And about a year ago, it was December, it was well into, we already had snow on the ground, and her dog started acting really bad. I mean, she basically went to the vet because she thought the dog was after going to be put down, really.
Oh, no.
And it turns out that it had been bitten several weeks earlier when the snow had not come yet. And it is now manifesting itself as a full-blown Lyme case, and they treated it, and now it's fine. So
there you go. Well, that's good news. Yeah. That's good news. So repellents are the best way to do it, other than wearing a hazmat suit when you go out, which is what I do because I'm paranoid that way.
That's what I say.
And so I guess you've tested the best repellents that are out there and figured out what works best.
Oh yeah, there's nothing better than permethrin. That's there's no question about it. I mean, our military has been using it for decades and decades. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah. That or I just use nuclear radiation, but they might be able to survive that. I don't know. Who knows? In Chernobyl. Do ticks die in the wintertime? Is it safe to go out in the winter where I won't have to wear my hazmat suit? Or
I'm glad you brought that up because ticks here. ticks do not die in the wintertime, okay? Because, see, in our area, they go down under the leaf litter, okay, when temperatures get below 32. Actually, we still had some last week around 30, and last week we had 50, so we had them there too. But anyways, they dive down under the leaf litter, as winter starts approaching. Then snow comes over. Snow is a wonderful insulator. So they just basically chill out underneath the snow there for the winter. And then the springtime comes again, they, awaken again, and they're ready to go in the spring. But I should tell you the life cycle of a tick. You want to hear the life cycle?
Yeah, please.
A female tick gives birth anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 eggs at a time, which is just disgusting.
Holy crap. That's
man. In June, typically, it's like little dots of brown on the ground.
Holy crap.
So after a couple weeks, they hatch out of the eggs. Then they look for their first host, which is typically a white-footed mouse because they're on the very ground. They can't get on anything else.
Yeah.
The white-footed mouse is running around, and they jump on that, start sucking the blood out of it. After a couple days, they drop off. But anyways, when they're sucking the blood out of that white-footed mouse, the germs or the pathogens from that mouse that go into the tick is what actually give it diseases because they're born disease-free.
Oh, really? So it's the mice that are the...
Yeah, the mice give them the disease. Okay.
Oh, my God. Now, does the mice give them Lyme disease?
It'll give them whatever the disease that they happen to have. Sometimes it's Lyme. Sometimes it's one of the other ones that I mentioned.
Wow.
But it's typically a white-footed mouse. In the South, they call it a little animal called a skink, which is kind of like a lizard or a snake with legs, kind of. And they'll get on those because they're close to the ground again. Right? So
I think I've seen some of those on Tinder. I don't know what that
means. So this little tick then, after about 3 or 4 days of having a good meal, they jump off and they do whatever ticks do, which ain't a whole lot. They just kind of sit back and chill. They thought they just got off the full belly deli,
Yeah.
And they molt into the next series that fall, that winter, come out the next spring. They grow 2 more legs. So the next spring,
more legs.
So they have 8 legs. That's why they're actually a part of the arachnid family. They're part of the spider family because of that.
They're scary.
So they come out the next spring as a nymph-sized tick, the size of a poppy seed, okay? And the size of a poppy seed, that could be on your shoelace and you wouldn't even notice it.
Oh, yeah.
And if they got a Lyme or any other disease that last summer, the one the size of a poppy seed is just as lethal as a full-grown adult. So size does not even matter in the tick world. I mean, small. So anyways, they look for a host, could be us or some other little animal, feed on that. They only eat 1 time a year. All right.
I need to be able to do that. Maybe I should be a Lyme or a tick.
Man, the money we could save if we ate once a year, right? Oh my gosh.
No kidding, man. Yeah, that'd be great.
So anyways, they look for some kind of, host, could be us, some little animal, and they feed for a couple days. Then they drop off and they just kind of chill out again. They molt into the next series that fall, that winter, come out the next spring as an adult. And then they look for something a little bigger, could be us or could be a deer or any little animal. And they start sucking the blood out of that. Let's say they're on a deer, the male and the female, after they're done eating, then they mate. And then they ride the deer over the winter. The next spring they get off. The male gets off, dies. Female gets off, gives birth to 1,000 to 5,000 ticks or whatever. And that's enough to kill anybody. And she dies. So it's about 3-year life cycle if they eat once a year, every year.
Wow. And I don't step on them because they're ugly. Wow. That's all that blood sucking, you just described my first 3 marriages. Anyway, that's a joke, people. That's wild, man. They grow legs in the 2nd year?
Because they're born with 6 and they got to grow 2 more so they can have 8 of them the next spring. Yeah.
Wow.
And keep in mind, that's why I like prevention so much and using permethrin, because let's say somebody's out in the springtime, they're out there just, finally, the snow finally melted in the eastern half of the United States, and they're out looking for mushrooms or just enjoying the outdoors. And little do they realize the ticks are looking for them or something to eat. Yeah. And they could be on their shoelace and crawl up their pants and a lot could happen there,
That is crazy, man. And when you come back into your house, if you don't take your clothes off, throw them in the dryer first and then the washer, then they're all in your house, right?
They won't last too long in the house because it's not moist enough for them.
Okay.
Several days. The typical ticks. There's several different versions. There's about 800 species of ticks in the world.
800.
Yeah, I know.
I'm I'm living in a bubble from here on out.
They're all over the place. We don't have anywhere near that many in the States here. But yeah, they're all over in different parts of the world. Africa, had a guy go to Africa this past summer, and he had them all over his pants. Luckily, he sprayed them with permethrin, and he never had any bites from them.
Wow.
But yeah, I've had people on the Appalachian Trail here this past summer.
If I ever go to North Carolina, Michigan, all those places up there, I'm just going to cover myself. I'm just going to bathe in it first. And then go out. Hey, what's that? Is he wearing that new cologne there? Chris, it smells like shit. It's permethrin.
Oh, permethrin's odorless. That's the nice thing.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, that works.
Good, yeah.
That works out good. Yeah.
I mean, DEET can smell a little bit. People don't realize that DEET is a wonderful repellent. Okay, DEET is for the skin, permethrin is for the clothing.
Okay.
And remember, the way permethrin works is it's called a contact repellent. That means the ticks don't notice till they come in contact with it. All right? Mm-hmm. As they're crawling up the pants, every little step drives their nervous system nuts. Okay? Mm-hmm. I had a little black fly land on my thigh a couple of years ago. And it was just fascinating to watch it because it starts high stepping around. They call it the hot feet syndrome because it could sense the little permethrin molecules in my pants. And eventually it flew off. I say, cha-ching, I won because it didn't bite me. And it flew off. You know what I mean? But ticks can't do that. So,
there you go. Now, a lot of people that I've known, they never knew they got bitten by a tick.
Yeah.
There was no thing. And then they suddenly started getting sick. I've noticed it happening to a lot of women friends, and women, MS is pretty prevalent in women, so they would get misdiagnosed with MS, and they would go through all these diagnoses, and they get sicker, and it would seem like the last thing they'd ever check for, or sometimes they just had to find the right doctor who was savvy enough to go, I think I know what it is. How do you, if you want to get tested for Lyme disease or think that that may be an issue you're having based upon your symptoms, what's the best way to do it and how to get tested, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, that's even a tough thing too, because so much in the beginning, when somebody, let's say I got bit today and next week or a couple days from now, I go in for a test. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens is that Lyme disease has not been in my system long enough for it to really come up positive on a test. Mm-hmm. After 4 or 5 months, then it's going to come up even more positive then, but then it's too late to take care of it in the beginning like you should have, after the first couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. This Lyme disease is notorious for giving testing for false negatives and false positives. It's just really, really difficult to test for. Mm-hmm. So often when somebody goes in and they think they got bit by a tick, the doctor, if they're sharp and if they're in a tick area, it helps too because it's more common. They will give somebody doxycycline just based on their symptoms.
Really?
Right?
Wow.
Without even a test. Yeah. That's very, very common because doxycycline is now I'm not a doctor here, but it's more of a mild type of, very generally used antibiotic, but it's really good for Lyme disease.
Wow, man. That is crazy. Well, we've learned a lot here. Anything we haven't covered on the, what the tick Terminator does?
Well, I got it. When we're ready, I'll end with a poem that I wrote about ticks too.
Okay. All right. If we're there, they go and throw it at us.
Okay. Here. I wrote this poem. I like to write poems, and it goes like this: I hate them little suckers. I want to terminate them all. So I do with permethrin and love to watch them fall. From head to toe, I spray this stuff. My shoes, socks, clothes, and hats, because it works on more than ticks, like skeeters, chiggers, and even gnats. So I ask you, if you're listening, to keep away from Lyme, get started with permethrin, and now is the perfect time. Thank you.
You need to put that into some rap stuff. So people can order your book. They can learn about all this stuff. They can go to your website. I noticed in your website, you've got tick and Lyme info. So you've got explaining what Lyme disease is, Lyme videos, books, treatments, physicians. You talk about how to repel on your clothes and skin, apparel, home and yard, pets. I just wear a hazmat suit the whole time. There's one of those things that are completely sealed off from everything. That's pretty much what I wear. And then
you can order permethrin right there too.
There you go. And they can find out more. Can people consult with you and have you, come speak and things like that? How do people reach out to you for that?
I love speaking. I do that as much as I can. Yeah, I usually I've spoken anywhere between 45 minutes to a couple hours, depending on what they need, but usually about 45 minutes to an hour, and then have some Q&A, which is a lot of fun. And people really learn a lot. A lot of times people come up and say, man, thank you. I learned something here today, because not too many people are like me. Not that I'm a genius, but you gotta be a little strange, a little weird, and have an unusual fascination with little ticks, like I do. So,
there you go.
A lot of fun.
There you go. So give people a final pitch out to order up your book and hand out to everybody they know here as tick season and all that good stuff will be approaching again soon.
Yeah, I mean, go to my website, thetickterminator.com. You can get the permethrin right there. It's the most cost-effective because you mix it yourself. You can make it last for 3 weeks or 6 months, depending on how you mix it. It's the best on the market. And learn a lot about the ticks out there, too. And you can contact me there for speaking engagements, too, which I'd love to do. And all kinds of things like that. It's a lot of fun.
There you go. And there's a White Sierra bug-free apparel on here, too. There's certain apparel that, how does that work? It's got a insect shield technology?
I just have numerous different things on the website just to let people know what's actually out there.
Yeah.
You can get some clothes that already have permethrin treated right in it.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy them like that. And I personally like to spray it on myself. Then I know for sure that that's there and how long it's going to last, stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of things out there.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Is there any sort of, or do ticks avoid people that are bad at fashion like me? Maybe is there certain things I can wear, like socks and with my flip flops, that will make them turn them off, and they'll be like, I don't want to really go near that guy.
Well, if you got flip flops on, you probably got bare skin on your. You're probably wearing shorts.
That's true. Yeah, that's probably really bad there.
So then you probably want to put some DEET on that on your skin there, and that helps. That helps keep them off. Not as good as permethrin, but permethrin is not for skin. It's only for clothing and gear.
There you go. I'm gonna get me a shirt that says, "Hey ticks, I killed your mom," or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that will help and all that good stuff. So there you go. So people can go to your website. They can get all the good stuff that will take and help them do their thing and everything else and all that good stuff. Give us your .coms if we go out.
Thetickterminator.com. Thetickterminator.com.
There you go. So thank you very much, Brian, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, man.
Been a lot of fun, as I figured it was going to be. I was looking forward to it.
The Tick Terminator. Does this get you laid? The Tick Terminator. You walk around and be like, "Hey, baby, I'm the Tick Terminator." I don't know. I'm just kidding. So there you go. Thank you very much, Brian, for coming on the show. Use it as pickup lines of ours. We certainly appreciate it. To our audience, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, all those crazy places around the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.